Today we have with us Jason Fernandes. Thank you, Jason, so much for coming and meeting with me. Over the last 2 decades, you have created tremendous reputation for yourself and value for the industry in blockchain and cryptocurrency. Tell us about young Mr. Jason Fernandes, somebody who started at age 14. How did that happen?
So basically, I started. I had a abiding interest in UFOs and aliens and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so I was like part of the global UFO network and really into that whole scene. And so I came up with a program called the UFO Story.
Okay.
And I decided I needed a company to launch it from, so I came out with something called Jason Software because that seemed everything to do. And at the time, I think the internet was just starting in India, and most people didn't have it. And Chip magazine was the #1 selling computer magazine at the time,
Right.
and most people actually got their software from Chip magazine, the free CD that came with. So I decided that I wanted to have my program on that CD.
Nice.
So I just basically went to their offices, which were in Bombay.
Okay.
And just said, hey, who's the guy who makes this sort of decision to put the thing on the CD? And I was just like a kid at the time, and they introduced me to the guy, and he was like really helpful. He decided to put the CD, to put the software on the CD. So it went out to some 100,000 people. I was more like of a utilitarian learner basically. So like I learned how to use computers because my parents basically got me a CD of 101 games that were really, really hard to get to work. So basically you had to figure out each games, and I was like, hey, maybe it'd be cool to make my own game, and sort of progress right out of there.
Fascinating. Give us that one big insight along this journey that you've had over the last 2 decades.
It's really important to sort of stay relevant in your field and sort of constantly get new information and process it and try to see how it applies to your business or applies to your industry. Another thing that I sort of learned that's really important is the internet. You can get pretty much all the information that you need and become almost an expert in any field if you spend enough time, sort of focused on that. The market has sort of been dominated by the so-called FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, but ultimately Apple for that matter. But ultimately what's happened is that every time there's been sort of a new industry, a new area that's come up that sort of spawned another giant. So Apple was really dominant, Microsoft was really dominant, but sort of with the rise of the internet, Google became dominant in the internet field, even though they sort of have like aspects of their business and did sort of touch all the other areas. The reason they sort of took off was because of that area. There's a company called Voice, which was recently launched by EOS, which is supposedly a blockchain based social media network where it's sort of competing with Facebook. And Voice certainly has a vast amount of funds from which to draw from to sort of mount a pretty decent attack against the likes of Facebook. And ultimately you're going to see a couple really large companies that are going to come out, and they're sort of going to focus initially on their own space, whether that's AI or blockchain specifically, but then ultimately start being more of a holistic companies. The same way you saw like sort of Microsoft progress to that and Google progress to that. You're going to start seeing that. So the dominance of sort of these FANG companies is sort of going to go down. I'm really interested in seeing where autonomous driving goes. And for example, I think Tesla is going to do some really interesting work there. Also, I think Uber is also going to do some interesting work with autonomous technology. I think one of the main things that's going to be interesting over the next decade is how these very different technologies sort of interact with each other. So how does blockchain interact with AI, and how does blockchain interact with big data? And started following like politics very, very closely. And I decided, hey, and then I used to watch the talking heads on television, like debate and stuff. And I was like, hey, I bet I could do better.
Have you felt that about most things?
No, not really.